Alright, so in this example, we will try to edit the Imperial Veteran Infantryman and the Imperial Infantryman. You see, this troop right now has no javelins, and neither does this one. So we're going to try to add some javelins to this one, and we're going to try a few things as well. Let's start by looking how these units look like in the game files. If we find our game directory for Bannerlords, we open Modules and Sandbox Core, and Module Data, we'll find this folder right here. If we open the single player NPC characters XML here, we're going to get something that looks like this. Now we wanted to change the Imperial Infantry. So let's open that one up. We'll search it over here and we'll click Find. Now we'll see we have an NPC character with the ID Imperial Infantry and the name Imperial Infantryman. Now his skills can be seen here, and his equipment sets are right here. Also his upgrade targets are at the bottom here just before the next unit. We're primarily interested in changing his equipment sets and his skills. Right now his throwing is at 20, but we want it to be at 40 so it's in line with the rest of his skills. Now how do we go about doing that? In this case we're going to be using the editor. The first time, if we open the folder here, you're going to see three files. The editor executable, the logs file, and the subref file. The logs file, the first time you run it, it should be empty like this. So the game there should be empty. When you run the executable for the first time, it's going to pop up a file dialog. Now this file dialog is going to ask you for the game directory. In my case, it's installed under Steam, so you'll want to go to, I think it's Steam Apps, Common, then the Mountain Blade folder. And it should look like this. When you select the folder, if everything goes A-OK, these buttons are going to unlock. If not, it's going to pop up an error window saying the game directory is incorrect. You may need to then delete this string right here to make sure it's empty so that it can actually properly load it next time. So let's find these units that we want to edit. We're going to click Add Units, and a new window is going to appear. From this drop-down over here, we select, it doesn't matter which empire you have. In the next version, it's actually just going to say Empire. Click Select Culture, and we click Imperial Infantryman, and we add that one. And it was the Veteran Infantryman that we also wanted to edit. We'll add that one too, and click Done. These will now load into this list. So let's start with the Imperial Infantryman. Now we saw his skills here. We can change this to 40, for example. And we can compare it also to his old skills. So we know his old skill was 20. We've just now changed it to 40 by using Update Skills. We can do that again. For example, if I go to Writing, I can again update it to 35, but we don't want to do that. So let's just keep it at 5. If we go back and forth now, we should see that our changes are saved. So it's 40 there and it's 5 there. If we go to Edit Equipment, another window is going to open. And here we could see his 3 equipment sets that he has. Now, we're interested in giving him the javelins, which are going to be the one of the 4 equipment slots here. Let's click Edit right here. It's going to open up a new window, which in the case of these equipment slots, we need to select an item type first. In that case, that's Javelin. We'll load those items, and we'll give him a simple Javelin. Now, to make sure that he always spawns with this, we want to give all of his equipment sets the simple Javelin. So we're going to go ahead and put a simple Javelin on all of the equipment slot 2. Just like that. A note for when you're editing cavalry, you'll notice that there's horse and saddle for all the equipment sets, and there's also horse and saddle at the bottom. Now, let's say I, for example, put a Sturgian horse here, a Vlandian horse here, and a Battanian horse here, but I keep this one empty. Now that would mean that some of the troops are going to spawn with Sturgian horses with this equipment, some of them are going to spawn with Vlandian horses with this equipment, and some are going to spawn with Battanian horses with this equipment. Now, if I were to set a Kuzite horse down here, that would then overwrite all of the other horses, and they would only be riding the Kuzite horse. I'm going to be adding this type of slot for all of the equipment later, by the way, which will actually allow for overriding files instead of actually having to rewrite the original code. Now we can just close this window right here and open up the veteran infantryman. And we're going to do the same here. We want to bring his throwing in line with the rest of his skills, up to 100. And we're going to edit equipment. And once again, in this case, he already has a Western Longspear in slot 2, so we're going to put it in slot 3 instead. And again, we're just going to select Javelin and Simple Javelin. And as soon as we've done that, we're going to check out how you can actually change names on these guys as well. Now once that's done, we can also see the unit name here. In this case, for the Imperial Veteran Infantryman, we got his name right here. Now let's say we want to call him an Imperial Veteran Footman instead. Now let's click Edit Name. You'll notice how Imperial Veteran Infantryman disappeared from the list and was replaced with Imperial Veteran Footman. Now we'll do the same thing with the Imperial Infantryman. We're going to click Edit here, and we're going to change his name to Imperial Footman. And likewise, Imperial Infantryman disappeared and was replaced with Imperial Footman. Now that we're done with all of our changes, let's save these changes to a patch. We're going to call this Imperial Fix, and we're going to click Commit to Patch. If everything went well, a nice little window which says Patch Created is going to come up. Now if you check your modules folder in the Bannerlord's directory, you'll see that there's a new folder now called Imperial Fix. If we open Imperial Fix, we'll find that there's an appropriate submodule file which has been created for this mod. And if we open module data, we'll find an Imperial Fix XML. If we open this XML, we should now see all the changes that we've made. In this case, our Imperial Veteran Infantryman is now called an Imperial Veteran Footman. His throwing skills are now 100, and in equipment slot item 3, he now has a Western Javelin in all 3 equipment slots. Now the same thing goes for the infantryman. His name is now Imperial Footman. His throwing value has been changed to 40 instead, and he also has a Western Javelin, which is the name for Simple Javelin, in item 2. As of now, equipment sets are merged with the definitions in this file. So if we want to make sure that the units actually get these changes, we're going to click the Edit Base Code button. What this does is it creates a backup of the original. So if we open this one, we'll see that this is the original unchanged file. Whilst if we open up the single player NPC characters file now, you'll notice it's a smaller file size. We haven't really deleted anything. It's just got to do with the writing process here. It deletes a lot of the spacing, which actually takes up data. And now if we search for Imperial Infantryman, you'll notice we can't find him because his name is now Imperial Footman. And there we go. We now have an Imperial Footman with 40 in throwing and a Simple Javelin. And we'll go to Veteran Footman, and there we go. We got an Imperial Veteran Footman with 100 in throwing and Simple Javelins. Now, let's say that we want to make changes to our mod in the future. So we've closed it down. Well, let's open it back up. This time it's not going to ask for the directory because it already knows where it is since it's stored in locks. Let's click Add Patch, and let's go to Modules and Imperial Fix. Module data, and let's select the Imperial Fix file. Now you can see that it'll load all the units that you've edited previously so that you can edit them again. So we'll go to the Imperial Veteran Footman and we'll change his name back to Imperial Veteran Infantryman. Edit name, and we'll do the same for the Footman, Infantryman. Now, important thing to remember, if I decide to give it the same mod name as before, Imperial Fix, it's going to spit out failed to create patch because there's already a folder called Imperial Fix. Let's just give it a second name here, Imperial Fix 1. Now it has correctly been able to create a new folder and file called Imperial Fix 1. If we go back to a modules folder, we'll see that it's right there. And if we open it up, we'll see that they are now called Imperial Veteran Infantryman and Imperial Infantryman. We click Edit Base Code, This time, a backup already exists, so it's just going to edit the base code that we already have. We open it up, we search for Imperial Footman, and we can't find it because he is now called Infantryman again. Now let's see if I can also spell correctly. There we go. And the same thing for the Veteran Infantryman. Now let's open up the game and see our changes. A good thing to remember, in the current version, there's no point in activating the mod here since we made changes to the original base code using edit base code. In future versions though, you'll have to activate this as I'm going to be redoing the rewriting of, or overwriting of the equipment. So, moment of truth, let's check our changes. We'll open up the party and we'll go down to find the Imperial Veteran Infantryman. And there we go, he has now simple javelins. And we'll check the same for the Imperial Infantryman. And just like that, he has javelins too.